Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to my channel named FluentPrime, and in this video, we are going to look at the writing and language test section on the March 2018 question and answer service for the SAT test. So we're going to look at the first 10 questions of the section today. And in my subsequent videos, I'm going to explain how to answer the other 34 questions. Oh, actually, I am sorry. We're not going to look at 10, but we're instead going to look at 11 questions today, I think, because here I just noticed actually it says, and I'm going to comment on it with my pencil, questions 1 to 11. I just looked at it and I remembered that there are 11 questions in this particular portion of the writing and language test. So we're going straight to the questions. Question 1. To make this paragraph most logical, sentence 5 should be placed. Oh, I don't like this type of questions. But okay, so first, let's highlight sentence 5 and try and understand what the sentence is about. So here we go. This is sentence 5. So one creative alternative is vertical farming, growing crops arranged vertically inside tall buildings rather than spread horizontally on land. Okay, what's the meaning of this sentence? The meaning is that they are explaining to us what vertical farming is. And they're sort of offering this to us. They're saying, hey, listen, there is a solution. One creative alternative is vertical farming. So we need to find a place in this paragraph somewhere because it says to make this paragraph most logical. Okay, these are our options. We need to really understand where we actually need to define vertical farming. Where do we need to put this definition of vertical farming? Because they're explaining vertical farming is growing crops arranged vertically inside tall buildings. Okay, that's what it is. So let's see where we are. Where it is now. Okay, where it is now. This method of farming. Okay, I'm here now. This method of farming increases crop production per square meter, yielding much more food than does a traditional farming method. And then it says one creative alternative is vertical farming. Well, I'm not entirely sure that's where it needs to be. Vertical farms maximize. See, they talk about vertical farms here, which means that we need to define it somewhere before they start their discourse in vertical farming. So I am sure that this is not where it is now. So let's look after sentence 1. Maybe it's there. Current agricultural practices will not be able to meet. Okay, so they're posing a problem here. And then 2, okay, I'm focused on sentence 2 right now. The amounts of arable land, water, and fossil fuels necessary to feed so many people, methods so simply too great. Okay, it's the continuation of that problem. Vertical farms maximum. Well, the most logical place would be here because this is a problem, okay? And this is already their discourse in vertical farming. So most logically, it's before sentence 3 or after sentence 2. Now let's see what we have in there. After sentence 3? No, after sentence 2. Yep. Here we go. This is C. After sentence 2. Oops. Because this is where our definition of vertical farming should go. Okay, the amounts of arable land, water, and fossil fuels necessary to feed so many people using conventional agricultural methods are simply too great. And then goes one creative alternative is vertical farming, growing crops arranged vertically inside tall buildings rather than spread horizontally on land. And then goes sentence 3, vertical farms maximize available space so they explain further why vertical farms are advantageous at this point. Great. So we're going to question 2. What do we have in there? Okay, so we need to read the context in order to answer this question here. Question 2. So while vertical farming, see, I'm gonna leave this clause out. I'm starting to read from this clause. While vertical farming techniques are much more efficient in its. So what is the subject here in this sentence? The subject here in this clause actually, it's techniques. Okay, techniques. So techniques, plural, noun, should be there. Okay, but not this there. We're not talking about any position or anything. We're talking about there, the use of water that belongs to these techniques. Okay, so the answer here is D. Now we're going further. Number 3. So what do we have in there? Roots of plants directly rather than irrigating the soil around the plants. Vertical farmers use less water. So okay, then see this word then. This is a comparison here. So, vertical farmers use less water than do traditional places like farms. So, I think if they're talking about farmers, the comparison has to be with people, with some other I don't know, workers or something like this, or farmers, but a different kind of farmers. So vertical farmers use less water than do, and what do we have in the choices in here? Traditional places like farms. So no, we were getting rid of this. It's not our option because it's farms and we have people, farmers. Farms, again, farms, no, not our option. Traditional farmers, traditional farms. Again, we're comparing people with people. Then in this case, we're comparing vertical farmers with traditional farmers. That makes our construction parallel, and it actually makes sense. So the answer here is C. Okay? We're moving further down the test. At this point, the writers consider, okay, wheat, corn, and rice are problematic to grow. Now, we need to understand the meaning of this little snippet that they're providing. Wheat, corn, and rice are problematic to grow in vertical farms because of the large amount of space these crops require relative to the amount of food they produce. Okay, so what they're basically saying, let's interpret this into normal English, okay? What they're saying is these crops right there are not good for vertical farms because they need a lot of water and they do not really give us that much food. Okay, so it has a, I don't know, a negative meaning here. It doesn't say that, yeah, growing these crops is so great. No. They're saying it's not great. It's not good. So we need to understand the general meaning of this here. Should the writer make this addition here? Okay, this where, here, right there, okay? Should we add this sentence here? And in order to understand whether we need to add this sentence here, we need to look at this context, okay? Now let's see. Other water-efficient methods available to vertical farmers are hydroponics, spinning plants in troughs of circulating nutrient-rich water, and aeroponics, irrigating plants with only water vapor and nutrients. They're talking about different methods available to vertical farmers. Now, can we look at something here before? Using drip irrigation to water roots and plants around the plant, vertical use less water than do traditional places than do traditional farmers, okay? Because that's what we have for question 3. And then they go, other water efficient methods available to vertical farmers. Does this sentence there make sense? Here, in this context, here, right there, okay? They're talking about methods available to farmers. And then this sentence here says, wheat, corn, and rice are problematic to grow. So they're posing here a problem or an issue. But here, in this context, I didn't see any problem or issue. I just looked at the discussion of what methods were available to vertical farmers. So I don't think they should make this addition here, okay? But I have 2 options, no and no. So no, because it distracts from the focus of the paragraph by adding irrelevant information, and no, because it contradicts a point made earlier in the paragraph. Now, does it really contradict anything? Wheat, corn, and rice are problematic to grow? No. Whatever information is here is simply is simply tucked in there without any relevance, absolutely. So I think in this case, my option is C. So I'm answering this question with my option C. All right, so I'm moving to the other questions in this section. And now I have question 5. Because their indoor facilities can be placed anywhere there is sufficient light and energy. Now, this option that I already have, just one word, sufficient, is fine. But let me look at the other options and see what they have. Just about enough, an unobjectionable amount of, a plenitude of essential. Now, these are wordy options. They are redundant. The meaning is the same, sufficient, but they're inserting a lot more words than there should be. So I'm going with a no change simply because it is simple, and this one word sufficient explains everything that I want to say, or rather they want to say in this sentence, okay? So A is my answer. Alrighty, moving next. 6. Vertical farms can be located anywhere where they had been. Now, that's a little bit tricky here. A lot of people say, yeah, but that sounds just fine. Okay, no, it doesn't sound fine. It should not be here. Let's look at what tense our paragraph is. Their indoor facilities can be present. There is present. Vertical farms can be. Okay, what's the context here? The context is that it normally happens. It's a usual, standard, regular situation. If something happens, they can be, this works that way. So it's in the present tense. Why do I need the past perfect here, had been? Certainly no change. No change. Then were, are being. So this does not work either because, again, we've said before that this is the present tense. Now, do we need this are being? Is it happening at this particular moment? No. It usually normally happens. They're describing a regular situation. C is my answer because it's the only option that matches my context. Okay? Now, 7. Establishing farms in cities not only provides residents with fresh produce, but also reduces, again, this option is just fine, not only provides, but also reduces. Now, this is a good construction, but let's see what I have. And also reduces. This is going to sound good. Not only provides and also reduces. Now, that doesn't match the construction not only provides. See, it doesn't match this initial setting here, and it also reduces. No, as it also reduces. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, does not match while also reducing. Now, this ing form does not match our present simple tense here. So in this case, I just go with A, no change, because this construction is parallel to the original setting in the sentence. Establishing farms in cities not only provides, but also reduces. Okay, so it works just fine for me. I'm going down. Question 8. Which choice most effectively sets up the next sentence in the paragraph? Okay. 8. The energy needed to supplement or replace sunlight with artificial light can be prohibitively expensive. What's the context here? Despite the advantages of vertical farming, it can be difficult to construct buildings that let in enough sunlight for crops to grow and the energy needed to supplement. Okay. Sets up the next sentence in the paragraph. So, however, preliminary experiments with low-cost LED lights have been promising, showing that farming with artificial light can be feasible on a... Okay, so they're talking about what's the idea here in this next sentence. Okay, because the question here is, what choice most effectively sets up the next sentence in the paragraph? They're talking about these low-cost LED lights. The air quality inside the buildings differs. It's not about air, not going with B. The architect will likely need some knowledge of vertical farming, but it's not about the architect, it's about the LED lights. Cities that are already populous may not have room for more buildings, but that's not the idea. The idea is about the lights, right? So the energy needed to supplement or replace sunlight with artificial light can be prohibitively expensive. However, preliminary experiments with low lead lights have been promising, showing that, yep, I'm going with A. It's the only option that sets up the proper context for the next sentence, for the following sentence. So 9 can be feasible on a, excuse me, on a large and great scale. Certainly, I'm not going large and great because it's redundant. It's the same. So it's not A. Large, large, extensive. So large and extensive is the same. It's the same. So I'm just going with B. Large. I need one word in my instance that simply describes the situation. Be feasible on a large scale, and that's right there. That's it. I don't need a large, big, humongous, extensive scale. No, these words are simply unnecessary. Now let's look at questions 10 and 11, and these are the final questions for this video. Let's check this out. 10. Oh no, I think I went way too far down. So number 10, the viability of vertical farms here, demonstrate the viability of vertical farms with which Dixon Despommier, professor of, okay, I got it. So it should be Dixon Despommier, comma, professor of public health and environmental sciences at Columbia University, comma. So after his last name, we need to put a comma. And the only option that does this is option B, professor of, okay? That's what this is. We are going with option B. These all do not work, okay? Now, the last question, question 11. The writer wants a conclusion that restates the main idea of the passage. Which choice best accomplishes this goal? Now, let's see what we have. Vertical farming advocates will likely encourage consumers to patronize local businesses, including vertical farms. Okay, again, excuse me, we're looking at the context in the passage. The writer wants a conclusion that restates the main idea of the passage. The main idea of the passage, the whole passage, not the paragraph, but the passage. Which choice best accomplishes this goal? It's easier just to look at the choices. We know that this passage is about the advantages of vertical farming. Let's see what we have. Vertical farming advocates seek additional paths, additional ways to allow sunlight into city buildings so the plants can grow. Researchers are continuing to investigate the feasibility of using low cost, but it's not just about lights, though. So I don't think I'm going with that. Vertical farming and similar efforts to meet the world's nutrition needs can only become more important. Yes. I'm going with D. Why? Because this is way too specific. The passage is not about the lights. It's about vertical farming. Now, why can't we have A here? Vertical farming advocate will likely encourage consumers to patronize local business. Nope. This is, again, too detailed, and these details are necessary because the passage is not about supporting local businesses or, doing anything connected with local little farmers or anything of that kind. No, none of that. This passage is about the advantages and benefits of vertical farming. In other words, they wanted to tell us how vertical farming is actually good. Okay? So vertical farming advocates seek, it's option B, additional ways to allow sunlight. It's not the main idea. So I'm going with D. Okay? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's actually it. We've answered questions 1 to 11. And in my other videos, I'm going to continue working on this section on the test. We're going to do questions 12 to 22 in my other video. We're not going to do everything right at once, simply because the video is going to be way too long. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.